let's not buggerise around, Greg Norman. I was at an event yesterday, about an hour out of town, which was a celebration of Australian and American mateship, a celebration of the military, business, interpersonal and cultural connections. It was also an occasion to raise some serious money for charity and to do some seriously good work for veterans. At that golf event was Greg Norman. Now, I've been very lucky to interview Prime Ministers. I've been very lucky enough to be in your living room for a few years now. This is the most nervous I ever was going into an interview. This was an icon of the 80s, and the bloke still got the swagger as if it was the US Open, the British Open, the PGA, or the Masters. To watch him on the golf course is amazing, and I'm not really a golfer. Hence why you will see me not even try to do an unco swing in front of him. But here he is, Greg Norman, only on Paul Murray Live in the US. Greg Norman, g'day. What an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
I've got to say, to see the look on your face, particularly when you're playing with the veterans, what does an occasion like this mean to you? Because I can tell you what, it's a thrill for them to meet you.
Well, it goes both ways, quite honestly. I've been very, very fortunate through this organisation with mateship to meet some of the classics. Steve Melnikoff, 100 years old in November, spent a lot of time with him. Look, I think as maybe not my generation as the baby boomer generation, but the generations behind me probably take life for granted a little bit, and they don't realize some of the sacrifices these guys and gals have made since the 40s and the 30s and the 20s. And so when you get a chance to give them a little bit of enjoyment and pleasure that the game of golf does, look, it's very rewarding and very cathartic in a lot of ways.
What does the mateship between Australia and the US mean in 2019 now? Obviously, we're fighting in different places, we're building businesses, but as a man who has got a foot in both camps, what does it mean to you?
Well, it means everything, because to me, the little brother, like I call us, is probably really much more powerful and stronger behind the scenes than what people realize. So the relationship between Australia and the United States is, in my short lifespan, has been very, very deep and strong. And no matter who's in the White House or who's the head of our country, you got to make sure that we keep those relationships as strong as possible. And it's not just what people see, fighting in every war, whether we stood side by side, big brother, but it's behind the scenes stuff. The important stuff that really takes place from administration. And I'm not even involved. I can just sense it and feel it because I do business around the world. And no matter where you do business, you feel it. And to hear and be able to speak to Ambassador Hockey about what the relationship is today compared to what it was in the past, there's no difference. And the relationship is strong.
Speaking of, how do you feel of all of the successes and otherwise in golf to lose a bet to Joe Hockey on a golf course?
Well, I know being in the public service business, he probably doesn't get paid very much. So the $5, US too, $5 US.
Wow, that's like 35 at home now.
No, I know he's making a fortune on this day. But he hasn't seen the money yet. We're not done yet.
Now, with President's Cup coming up, what does that mean for Australian golf to be able to have that in Australia, that in Melbourne, and potentially, look, everyone from presidents, former presidents to some pretty big names want to come down and check out Melbourne?
Well, I think it's fantastic. First of all, it's interesting with the President's Cup because we don't play under one nation flag, right? The U.S. plays under Stars and Stripes, and the internationals play under multi-flags, right? And so from an Australian standpoint, I know when I played down there, and I know when I was the captain down there, the Australian people, they love their sport, right? Especially golf. They have a tendency of just appreciating all the players. And the difficulty is you've got to appreciate you're supporting a certain team or a certain flag. And so all the players, the international players, need that a little bit more gusto, support, rah, 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 and that gives them the energy to feel like they want to go on and win.
All right, last one. I know I'm not allowed to talk politics on a golf course, so I won't, but I'll say this. As a man who's played with both Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, who would win?
Holy
I finally stumped him. I got him. Thank you, Greg. How good is that? Greg Norman didn't want to buy into it. Of all the things he'll talk about, I won't pick. He's mates with both Bill Clinton and Trump and clearly doesn't want to get caught out saying which one is the better golfer.